What's next for the Oklahoma City Thunder? Well, pretty much anything, right? These guys have so many different options. They have a ton of versatility in terms of the roster that they could create. 1,000 picks, 1,000 trade possibilities, plenty of young guys, but we're going to get specifically into what moves they could make this offseason as well as their long-term outlook. I know that this is a team that gets covered a ton in terms of their future, but I'm excited to cover them in this What's Next series where we're going to be talking about their year in review and offseason preview, as well as kind of the general outlook moving forward as well. And let me know down in the comment section below what team you guys would like for me to cover next in this series. Typically, I go East-West. I just did the Magic. Now we're doing the Thunder. Probably back to the Eastern Conference for the next video. Let me know down in the comment section which team you would like me to cover. Quickly, before we get started, I like to remind people I upload NBA stuff in this channel every single day. It's the most consistent NBA content on YouTube. If that's something that you're interested in, then consider subscribing. You can also leave a like rating on the videos as well, and you can check me out at various socials and a Linktree link down in the description below. With those things said, let's take a look back at the Thunder's year. So the interesting thing about this Thunder team is despite everybody seeing them and correctly seeing them as this team with a bright future, this is actually breaking a streak of 5 consecutive seasons in which they made the postseason this year. It was a very weird year because in a similar way to maybe we thought about them last year, or maybe we thought about the Hornets last year as well as this year, we came into the year knowing Oklahoma City wasn't going to be a very good team. We knew that the roster wasn't going to be great, yet somehow they still found a way to win some games. They started the season 6-6. They went 17-22 through the middle of March, and then they won only 5 games the rest of the year, and I think we're all pretty clear about why that was the case. The Thunder didn't want to win games. They wanted to see what they had in their young players, and as soon as they realized, hey, we're a little bit better here than we're supposed to be, they sent Al Horford home. SGA didn't play past the middle of March. He had some injury stuff, but they weren't exactly in a hurry to bring him back. So as I've kind of mentioned before, Oklahoma City has perfected the tank. They know exactly what they're doing. They have a very clear direction. Everybody's on the same page, and they're not in a hurry to get really good. The interesting thing about this season was that it allowed them to do a couple of different things. They evaluated their young players, they developed their young players, and now they have a clear path and a direction moving forward while also having control over a couple of significant draft assets for this year, which we'll talk about a little bit later. SGA had a fantastic season once again. Despite only playing 35 games, he continued to improve in every aspect of his game, which is a theme for him year after year after year. They only won 7 games when he didn't play, so he's clearly very critical to this team. He's someone that I love, and he's going to be someone that's going to get a max rookie extension in 2022. Quite frankly. A couple of other guys that I really like on this roster as well. Lou Dort had a nice season. Some of his hot three-point shooting stuff did cool off a bit, but there should be continued improvement there. We know what he can do defensively as well. And despite, not having a ton of other offensive options on the floor, for him to even be able to shoot as efficiently, quote unquote, as he did is a good sign. Handful of other young guys in this roster that could be interesting moving forward as well. Everybody loves to talk about Poku, who had a great, last game. They kind of just let him do whatever he wanted for the last couple of weeks of the year. We'll keep an eye on him. Theo Maledon looks like a guy that could be a solid player moving forward as well, among a handful of young guys on this roster, and it's exactly what you want. You want a cornerstone guy in SGA. You want some, significant potential role player guys like Lou Dort, and then you want flexibility. You want options. You want the ability to bring in 1 or 2 super high-level top-tier guys and then go from there. It's exactly what Oklahoma City accomplished with their year this year. It seems a little bit odd to kind of preview the offseason for Oklahoma City because they can literally do whatever they want. I mentioned all the different possibilities. We can start with the draft stuff. I've attempted to explain this in the past. I'm going to do it one more time. Oklahoma City is going to get 2 first-round picks in this draft. They're going to have their own pick, which as of right now is tied for 4th best odds. And they're also going to get the best one out of Houston and Miami, which is going to be Houston's. The only reason they wouldn't get Houston's pick is if it lands in the top 4. So in summary, Oklahoma City gets the 2 top picks out of themselves, Houston and Miami. The only way that is not the case is if Houston's pick lands in the top 4. If Houston's pick does land in the top 4, then they get their own pick and they get Miami's. Miami does not get a pick. If it lands outside of the top 4, Houston's pick that is, Oklahoma City gets that pick, then Houston gets Miami's pick, Miami does not get a pick. That's how all that breaks down. So the possibility exists, and funnily enough, the first time that I did this in the Tankathon simulator, this is exactly how it worked out. The possibility exists that Oklahoma City moves up in this draft order. They get like the 2nd pick in the draft. The Rockets pick falls down to 5. They end up with 2 and 5, and they've got SGA, and they've got all these future picks, and that's best case scenario, which we'll talk about a little bit later. In terms of who they could potentially target in the draft, it really doesn't matter. They're going for the highest potential young guys they can get. They've got spots alongside SGA in the backcourt where they can play whoever alongside him. They've got spots in the front court. Any position is open. They're trying to get top tier level guys. Because as much as I love SGA, you need another really, really top level guy. And honestly, this is one of my favorite Cade Cunningham destinations because him and SGA together in the backcourt, the versatility that those two guys provide, the ability for them to play on and off the ball is incredibly exciting to me. And it's something that I really, really want to see. I'm all in on Oklahoma City. I think that they're a fun team. They're a fun franchise. I believe in the front office. The coach seems to know what he's doing. And I appreciate the direction that they've shown here and some like the process level tanking stuff that they did this year. So I'm gonna be honest, I'm a little bit biased about this. I really hope that Oklahoma City gets the first pick and the fifth pick, and then they move forward from there. They get Cade Cunningham, one other really good guy in this class. They've got all these future picks, and we're looking at an Oklahoma City super team in like 2026. Like that would be awesome for me personally. I think that would be super, super cool. That is certainly an option for them, specifically as it relates to the draft stuff. Now, as we get to the payroll stuff, it's actually kind of comical when you look at their payroll because it's literally just rookie contracts than the guy that they signed internationally. It's basically a rookie deal, but it's a little bit higher. And then Al Horford. For next year, if you take away the Al Horford money, they have less than $30 million committed to this roster, despite having a good amount of players on the roster. It's just they're all on rookie deals. Now, the one thing to keep in mind for them moving forward payroll-wise, because I continue to say, oh, they can do whatever they want. That's true. However, if you really want to maximize this and be as efficient as possible, there is a path here where you go out and target some restricted free agents, some guys maybe you want to overpay slightly in this offseason, because this is the last offseason in which SGA is going to be under his rookie contract. When you get into the 2022 offseason, his new extension will kick in. He has not signed a new extension yet, but in my opinion, it's pretty clear that it's going to end up being a rookie max extension. Goodness gracious. And then, not that your payroll will be limited because the Al Horford money will go away. He's non-guaranteed for 2022, so he could even be an expiring technically in some people's eyes. Regardless, the Al Horford money won't be there next summer, and so you just put SGA's extension right in there, and it's not like you're at $100 million in payroll. However, if you really want to, considering that Lou Dort is also going to need an extension at some point, you could look at this offseason as an opportunity to go out and get a couple free agents worth $20 million a year. Yes, that would limit your salary cap flexibility moving forward, but you could also make the argument that if you fill out this roster with some complementary guys, some guys that are making 15 to 20, you go out and try and get Lonzo, you go out and try and get someone like Jared Allen, Lauri Markkanen, whoever you want to go get, doesn't really matter. And then you re-sign SGA by going over the cap in 2022 with his new extension, and you've added the first and the fifth pick, and you've got all these young guys, and you've got all these future picks that you can move later on to potentially go out and get somebody, and you have these free agents that you've signed as potential trade assets as well. You could make the argument that that would be the correct path for Oklahoma City this offseason, where they go out and try and get someone like Lonzo, try and get someone like Jared Allen. They get their payroll up, then they re-sign SGA, they re-sign Lou Dort. In 2023, we're looking at a Thunder lineup that includes Cade Cunningham, SGA, whoever they get with the fifth pick, Jared Allen, Lonzo Ball, yada, 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 on down the line, Lou Dort, guys like that. And then let's say a star becomes available and they're like, hey, I really like what Oklahoma City's got going on over there. They've got 1,000 picks and they have the salary cap structure to be able to make a trade work because they've signed someone like Lonzo or someone like Jared Allen to a contract that makes the money work a little bit there. That is a very, very long-term projection, but if you're looking for one big consideration here this offseason, that SGA extension as it relates to their salary cap stuff is one to pay attention to. Ultimately, I don't think that's what they're going to do because, as I said, even if they sign SGA to a rookie max and then the Al Horford money's gone, assuming they don't sign any big long-term contracts this offseason, they're basically in the same spot payroll-wise for 2022 that they are for 2021 because you're just flipping Horford and SGA's salaries and you're still at less than $60 million. And then you got to deal with the Lou Dort extension, whoever else you bring in, rookie contracts, things like that. But essentially, it's not really that big of a deal. If you want to just go for maximum Daryl Morey level efficiency here, though, that would be a consideration. At the end of the day, Oklahoma City can do whatever they want. If they want to move up in this draft, they can use extra picks galore to be able to do that. If they really want to go and get the second pick, the third pick, they're going to be in rumors left and right, depending on where their pick ends up, to potentially move up. The possibilities here are endless, and I'm going to be paying a lot of attention on lottery night, not only for Oklahoma City, but for a ton of different teams. There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of swaps. There's a lot of protections, whether it be Minnesota and Oklahoma City, whether it be Houston and whoever else, Golden State. It's going to be a really, really interesting night there on lottery night. Of course, the outlook here for Oklahoma City is incredibly bright. Best case scenario, they get the 1st and the 5th pick in this draft. They get 2 really good players in this class. They still have SGA. They're really good next year, or at least kind of good. They've got all these future picks, because that's the beauty of what Oklahoma City has built. Is typically when a team tanks, like let's think about the process, right? Typically when a team tanks, they're relying on their own pick. So they have to be bad in order to continue to add top tier young talent. Oklahoma City doesn't have to rely on that. They're relying on that this season because it made the most sense, because they weren't going to be that good anyway. But let's say that they get some good players and they're a 40 to 50 win caliber team next year in an 82 game season. Well, they can do that. And then they have 1,000 future picks that if there's someone in the top 10 of this next draft class that they really want, they have the ability to go and get that pick, even though they themselves won't have to tank for it. It's the beauty of what they've built with all these extra assets, and it's one of the reasons why they're in such a great position. Worst case scenario, quote unquote, for them this offseason is they end up with the Miami pick rather than the Houston pick. It lands in the top 4, and they get their own pick at like 6 or 7. They still get a really good player. They still have all the options and free agency stuff moving forward, but you start to wonder about, are they ever going to get that top level guy that they need to pair with SGA to really be a true super team contender type team moving forward, because the likelihood of them getting a big time star via a trade is not very high, given the fact that it's Oklahoma City and stars just don't typically really get all that excited about going to play for the Thunder. At the end of the day, I think it's pretty clear by my demeanor in this video that I'm very excited about the future of the Thunder. It's a team that I'm going to be continually making videos about over the next couple of seasons. Like 3 years from now, someone on YouTube is going to get 200,000 views on a video about how either the Thunder drastically screwed this up or how they created one of the greatest teams that anybody's ever seen in terms of a young team, depending on how these draft picks and things work out. So I'm excited. I'm interested. One of my favorite What's Next videos to do, and that's why I wanted to go ahead and do it here in the beginning of the series. As always, let me know down in the comment section below what teams you want to see, and yeah, we'll take a look at them. With all those things said, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like rating on it. You can check out more videos from me. The box is on screen as well, and there's a Linktree link down in the description below. We're going to hang out with me outside of these videos. With all those things said, hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.